So, welcome everyone to the Ag in Action All About Poultry Turkey Farming Farm Chat. So, today we're going to be visiting a turkey farm and learning about how turkeys are raised here in Iowa. Another aspect of things that we're going to do today to make the farm chat a little bit more interactive is to have polls. So, I'm actually going to be asking you guys questions to help us learn a little bit more about turkeys. True or false? Domestic and wild turkeys are typically the same color. So domestic and wild turkeys usually are not the same color. So the turkeys that we'll be seeing on the farm today are actually white turkeys. And so we'll learn a little bit more about why this is when we visit our farmer. But my name is Alex Osborne, and I work with the Iowa Agriculture Literacy Foundation. And so I'm going to send it over to our farm in Hamilton County so that we can meet our farmer and the rest of the IALF team.
We're so excited that you're going to join us on the turkey farm today. I'm Kelly Foss. I'm with the Iowa Agriculture Literacy Foundation, and I'm here on the Larson Turkey Farm with Sheila Larson. And we're going to learn a little bit about turkey farming and a little bit about Sheila. All right, Sheila. So how long have you been farming turkeys, and how did you get into it?
Well, my husband and his family have been farming turkeys since the 50s. My husband's dad actually built a barn in the 60s, and then my husband has been ever since. And then when I met him, I came to live on the farm and actually didn't start here until 2019. But I've learned a lot in those years.
Excellent. Well, we're so excited that you're going to help us learn a lot about turkeys. Yes. Sounds like turkey farming has been in the family for a long time.
Yes.
It's really exciting. I know it's changed a lot over the years. Yes. Something that's really important right now is biosecurity for turkey farms and farming in general. Can you help us learn a little bit about biosecurity and how you work with that on your farm?
Yep. So back in the 70s, they were range turkeys, meaning they were all outside. There's a few reasons we don't do that anymore. One is just weather. We live in Iowa. It gets cold. It snows. That's just not ideal. Then you also have your predators. You have coyotes. And now, if you've seen in the news, there's highly pathogenic avian influenza going on, and it could wipe out an entire flock. So we take biosecurity very seriously. Everything that's outside needs to stay outside. Everything inside needs to stay inside. So we should make sure that we have clean clothes on. You'll see me switch my boots because even though I might not see anything on the bottom, I could be tracking something into the barn, and we want to avoid that just to keep our turkeys healthy and happy.
That's right. So we're at the turkey farm, and you don't see any turkeys yet, and that's because they're inside. So because this is Sheila's farm, she gets to go into the barn, but I don't get to go into the barn with her, but you do. And so we're going to let Sheila go into the barn, and she's going to put on her boots and all her protection to make sure she keeps the birds safe. And we're going to learn more about the turkeys inside the barn.
All right, let's go. So the first thing we do is we're going to sanitize our outside boots because we want to make sure that we're not tracking anything in. And then we have boots here that never leave the barn. They always stay here. They get clean, they get sanitized. And we're just gonna switch into those. Make sure we're keeping them safe. And then we're gonna sanitize these into a bucket. And we're ready to go.
We're going to see baby turkeys that are called poults. And so my question for you is true or false? Poults arrive at the farm when they are 1 week old. going to tell you the answer yet. We're going to have Sheila answer that for us inside the barn. So Sheila, can you tell us, is it true or is it false? When do poults arrive at the barn?
We get poults when they are a day old. So either the day that they hatch, depending on where that hatchery is, or the next day. So they are only a couple hours old, or they're 24 hours old. So not a week.
Wow, so our poll was false. The turkeys arrive when they're a day old or less than a day old, not 1 week old. So Sheila, can you tell us a little bit about how many turkeys are in the barn, and are they male or are they female?
Yeah, so each barn is different, but in our barn, here, I'll turn it around so you can see. In our barn, we start with 13,500, and after they are, about 5 weeks old, they get moved into what we call finishers. And so this one barn here gets separated into 2 finishers so that they have plenty of room to grow and walk around.
Awesome. And so I'm noticing some of those red and green things on some lines. Can you explain what those are?
This is what the feed looks like. So they are red and green because turkeys are attracted to those colors. So we want them to be able to go up and see what to do. So that's why they're red and green, strictly because turkeys like those colors. So you'll see, I'm trying to get a little closer so you can see the feed. And they just come right up. And I'll try to find a turkey eating. And then here is what the water looks like. And they just come up, and when they hit the water, so if I tap the water, sorry, let me get in the camera view, you can see that it fills up. So anytime they tap it, they get nice, fresh water. And it all comes through here. And this is how each of those get feed, is it comes into this big bin right here.
Awesome. And can you tell us a little bit about what their feed is made of and what our turkeys eat?
Yeah, so their feed is made up of corn and soybeans. And we on the farm here also raise corn and soybeans. And so we can use some of our own crops to feed our turkeys. And they get lots of nutrition, and each I want to say week probably, they have a different schedule in their feed, because as they grow, they need different nutrients, just like we do. As we're growing up, we need our protein and we need our vitamins. So do the turkeys. So we make sure that they are getting the proper nutrition to keep them healthy and growing.
Interesting. So as Sheila said, just like we need specific things and nutrients to keep ourselves healthy, our farmers are doing that for our turkeys as well. And you know, Sheila, I've noticed that a lot of the birds are coming up around you. Are they friendly?
Yes, they are very curious. When you walk in, they want to see who you are, why you're here, what you're doing. You can see they're kind of trailing me behind me. And I do not have red and green on today, but if I did, they would probably they'd probably flock to me a little faster. But they definitely are very curious of what you're doing, why you're in the barn. So they just kind of follow you around. As you can see, turkeys like to flock together. They like to be together. They don't really want to be by themselves.
That's super interesting. So we talked a little bit about how the turkeys have constant access to their feed and their water, and it looks like that's in an automatic system. Is there any other technology that goes into the turkey barns?
Yes, so we have young turkeys like it warm. So when we get them when they are the day old, it's about 94, 95 degrees in here. These turkeys are 3 weeks old, so it's gone down a little. Let me get this. I don't know if you can see that. It kind of looks like it's blinking on the screen, but this is what tells us what the temperature is. So this one says 85.7. and we set it to a certain degree and that we want to keep the barn in. Let me see if I can back up so you guys can see this. If you look up, that is the heater that is attached to that I just showed you. And if it needs to kick on because it dropped in temperature, then it automatically will kick on to keep the barn at a consistent temperature. And we have, let me go right over here. This is how it knows what the temperature is. So it might be a little hard to see, but right here is like a thermostat, and it hangs low. And does anyone know the reason why it hangs low? It's because I'm clear up here, right? When I'm standing, I'm a lot taller than the birds. But if you look at where this is and you look at the bird height, it's right at their level because we want them to be comfortable. It's not about me being comfortable in the barn. It's about the turkeys being comfortable. So that's why you make sure that the temperature where their height is the right temperature.
That's super interesting. So that's just another instance of our turkey farmers being very conscious about what the turkeys need and not just thinking about, oh, a human would need this, but taking into consideration the needs of our turkeys. And we actually had one question come through that asks, what do you do if the power goes out?
We have generators to make sure that if the power goes out, that everything in the barn is still working. They're still getting their feed, they're still getting their water, and they're still getting the proper temperatures. So if your power goes out, you might have to wait until the electric company fixes it. But we make sure that the birds get power right away.
Really interesting. So we always have to make sure that we're maintaining that stuff and making sure that we're watching our power and making sure that we have backups just in case. And so, Sheila, we had talked before that only you and your family that live on the farm are actually going in these barns day to day to check on the turkeys. And when you're looking at your birds, what are you looking for to make sure that they're healthy?
So when you walk in, you automatically see them get up. You hear them. You can hear them, I say talk, but you hear them chirp. And so you listen to them. Are they happy? Are they getting up? Are they going to the feed? Are they going to the water? So you just want to make sure, it's just like anything. If you have a pet, if you have a dog or a cat, you can tell that they are comfortable or uncomfortable. And that's the same with turkeys. So when we go in, we can tell instantly they're happy turkeys. They're doing good. Or they look a little off. Let's see what's going on. Is the water not flowing right? Is the, feed maybe off? Is the ventilation not as great as it should be? So let me turn the camera around. Hold on a sec. So this is what I'm talking about when I say ventilation. We have fans throughout the barn, and it just helps with airflow, keeping your air optimum. Just like you would in your school or your house or in your car. That helps you keep comfortable, and that's what we're doing here for the turkeys as well.
Awesome. And I'm noticing as you're showing pictures of the barn, it looks like you have something on the floor for the turkeys to walk around on. Can you tell us what that is and what its purpose is?
Yeah, so this is the bedding. You can either use holes or wood shavings, and it just keeps the turkeys happy. So, it's comfortable for them to walk on. But the benefit of this as well is when the turkeys go to the bathroom, it gets soaked up into this bedding, and then the turkey manure is used to fertilize land. And it's great because it's all natural, it's all organic, and it's a great benefit to keep everything growing as such, right?
Yeah, so as Sheila mentioned at the beginning, they grow corn and soybeans on their farm. So they kind of have a full cycle where they're growing food for their turkeys, but then some of the waste that comes from those turkeys, they're actually able to utilize that again on their farm and really complete the cycle. That's super interesting.
That's right.
Awesome. And so we had said before that only male turkeys are in this barn. And so Sheila, what are male turkeys used for?
So the reason that we only have male turkeys is because all of our turkeys get further processed, which means it's deli meat. it's turkey bacon, it's turkey sausage. When you have Thanksgiving next week and you sit down at the table and you have your full turkey to eat, that is a hen because they are smaller. And that's why, so anytime you eat a Thanksgiving dinner and you're having that turkey, it's going to be a female. But anytime you have a lunch meat or anything like that, then they are toms. And so the reason that we only have toms in our barn is because the processing plant we use only does for further processed meat.
Really interesting. And so that take us into another one of our polls. So we're going to see another poll pop up on our screen. And so this one says, true or false? Most of the turkeys produced in Iowa are used for further processed products like deli meat and ground turkey. Awesome job, guys. So that is true. So we produce a lot of toms or male turkeys in Iowa, and those toms are used for those further processed products like deli meat that we might have for turkey sandwiches or ground turkey. Great job. And so now we'll take a few minutes to answer some questions that you guys have had. So someone was asked, how often do we change the bedding in the turkey barns?
Depends. So it depends on each farm, really. Some people will clean out after each time. And so right now, I said these turkeys are 3 weeks old. And when they are 5 weeks old, we're going to move them into the finishing sheds. So at that point, we could skim and make sure that it's nice, fresh, or we could do a total clean out and bring in all new bedding. A lot of times, people would do that maybe twice a year. Some people do it after each flock. Some people do it once a year. It really depends on the farm and their needs.
Really interesting. We had another question come through that asked, where do you get the poults from? Where are the poults coming from?
So the poults that are inside this barn today are from Osceola. And so they don't have a very long trip. It's maybe an hour and a half up to our farm. Some people get them from South Dakota. Sometimes they come from Canada. So it really depends on the farm and the farmer and who they're working with. But the guys that you're looking at today are from Osceola, Iowa.
Awesome. And can you remind us again how many poults we have in this one barn?
Yes. So in this barn, there are 13,500.
Wow. And so is this
the-
your only barn, or do you have more turkeys on your farm?
So on this farm location, this is our only brooder, and then we have 2 finishing sheds. And right now there is nothing in the finishing barns because these guys are going to be moving there in just a couple weeks. But we do have 2 other farm locations. So as I mentioned, we farm with my husband's parents, and they have 3 barns at their house. And then just down the road from us, we have another 5 barns.
Super cool. So you guys have a lot of turkeys, and that's a lot of work to take care of them. Another question that we had is if the turkeys ever get to go outside during the day.
They do not because of predators and disease. However, let me walk right over here. They are not open today because we like to keep these guys nice and warm. But especially when they are in the finishing barns, you will see the curtains open. So this right here looks like a giant window kind of, right? And if you can see, let me get close. If you see the white, that is a curtain, what we call a curtain. And when the weather is nice and these guys are bigger, then those curtains would open and it would let in that breeze and fresh air for the turkeys. So they definitely have the outside light. And when those curtains are open, then you would be able to see outside. But because we want to keep these guys healthy, they stay in the barn at all times.
Awesome. And so we've talked about how the turkeys only stay in this barn for a little bit and then they move to what is called a finishing barn. So how do you transport the turkeys from this barn to their next barn?
Yes, so we put them on a trailer. Basically, it's kind of like a conveyor belt, and the turkeys just walk right on up to the wagon and go for a little ride on over to the next barn.
Awesome. Super interesting. Another question that we had is how much do turkeys eat in a day?
Oh goodness, they like to eat. I'm trying to think of how much they go through in their lifetime. They eat a bushel of corn and a bushel of soybeans.
Wow. And so we know that the feeders always have access to so they're always provided access to the food, but do they ever run out in their feeders?
They do not. So anytime that these start getting low, as you can see, this one right here is a little, there's definitely feed in it, but you kind of have to look down into it to see the feed, whereas this one's a little more full. Well, once they get low enough, there's a sensor that tells it to kick in, and it will take that hopper that I showed you earlier, and it will kick that on, and then the feed will come through these pipes and drop down into each one of these feeders to make sure that they always have feed.
Wow. So we know that our turkeys are always going to have something to eat. And so that's going to help them grow big. And whenever we're ready to move them and we're ready to take them to market, we know that they'll be big and healthy. And so that's going to take us into another one of our polls. And this poll is going to say, true or false, our toms or our male turkeys are ready for market when they are about 38 pounds. So Sheila, can you tell us if this is true or if it's false?
It's sort of true, I guess. I would say typically when our birds go to market, they're a little closer to 45 pounds. But it also depends on which week you sell. So depending on the market and when the processing plant needs those birds, you can sell them anywhere from 17 weeks all the way to 20 weeks. So if they're 17 weeks, 38 pounds is probably very realistic. But if they're 20 weeks, you're going to be a lot closer to that 45, 47-pound mark. So in a way, true, but in a way, false.
Sheila said it kind of depends on what our processing plant needs and when they're available to take these turkeys in. So
Yep.
Sheila, can you tell us how many turkeys you send to market every year?
Close to 175,000.
Wow, so that's a lot of turkeys, 175,000 turkeys that they're raising on their farm. So by the end of the year, they'll have 175,000 turkeys that they have raised throughout that year. So most turkeys are raised in barns that are temperature controlled. True or false? So we talked a little bit about this, Sheila, but can we go back and kind of reiterate, is that true or is it false?
In the brooder house, these guys like it nice and warm. When they move into the finishers, they like it a little cooler. So in the summer, they don't have air conditioning, but in the winter, they have heat. So we make sure that they are always warm. And in the summer, if it gets too hot, that's when we turn the fans on and we have misters to make sure that they stay nice and cool and comfortable.
Awesome. So as we said at the beginning, Iowa can get really cold, right? And so that's one of the reasons we want our turkeys to be raised in barns so that we can kind of help them stay warm and stay comfortable while they're living there. And so one of our polls at the beginning was if true or false our turkeys, our wild turkeys and domestic turkeys are the same color. And we realized that that was false. But Sheila, can you tell us a little bit about why the turkeys we raise on farms are white?
Yeah, so basically, it's a very simple reason. When you take a turkey and you go to dress it because you want to eat the turkey, when you remove a feather, if it is black, it's going to leave a black mark on the skin. But white does not leave a mark. And so, way back in the 50s, I believe, they decided that if it had a mark on the turkey, they would downgrade the meat. And so that's when they switched to white feathered turkeys. And it has nothing to do with the taste. It has nothing to do with how they grow or anything like that. It is strictly because of how the meat looks when you take their feathers off.
Super interesting. So as we learned, those black feathers can actually leave different marks on the turkey meat that we eat. And so that was a consumer preference. And so now most of our farms are going to raise those white turkeys so that they don't have those marks on the meat that they're going to eat. Thank you guys again so much for joining us today. And thank you, Sheila, and the rest of the IALF team for spending time with us and helping us learn a little bit more about turkeys.